Well, anyway, we're gonna do a defibrillator class.
Static electricity is often created when two objects that are not good conductors are rubbed together. It causes a spark or crackling. The triboelectric effect is when certain materials become electrically charged after being electrically.
Yeah.
Electrically.
Okay, the tribo effect is when certain materials become electrically.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Electric.
Electrically.
The triboelectric effect is when certain materials become
Electrically
charged after being in contact with another material, then they are separated. Most everyday static electricity is triboelectric. The strength of the charges produced differ according to materials, roughness, temperature, and strength. Our topic is defibrillator. It is a device that is used to restore a normal heartbeat. It does that by sending an electric pulse or shock to the heart. They are used to prevent or correct a heartbeat that is uneven, too slow, or too fast. It is also used for when your heart suddenly stops.
Both of us.
Basically, a defibrillator works by using a moderately high voltage, using about 20,000 volts to pass an electric current through the heart, so it's shocked into working normally again. The patient's heart receives roughly 300 joules of electric energy. Yeah? Sorry. In order to make good electrical contact with the skin, so a solid or liquid conducting, my apologies, gel is usually applied to the patient's chest first.
Defibrillation was first discovered in 1899 at the University of Geneva by physiologists Jean-Louis Provost and Frederick Batelli while researching ventricular fibrillation, which is a life-threatening rhythm that results in rapid abnormal heartbeat. While researching ventricular fibrillation, which is a life-threatening heart rhythm that results in a rapid abnormal heartbeat, they discovered that they could manipulate the heart contractions in dogs by using high jolts of electricity. With more experimentation, they discovered that with an even higher jolt, they could slow the heart down to its normal pace by applying high current shocks directly to the surface of the heart. However, the studies were later frowned upon when one high voltage shock proved fatal to the dog's fragile heart. In 1933, Dr. Albert S. Hyman invented the Hyman's odor, which was an improved version of previous ideas. However, these practices were meant for people rather than dogs. The device was made up of a hollow steel needle through which a carefully insulated wire run to the open point, and it is connected to a spring-driven generator that can be adjusted to give electrical heartbeat-like impulses depending on the age of the patient.
Now, they'd use a dog, you said?
Woof, woof.
Exactly.
It was first tested on animals, and though it received good press, it was perceived as interfering with natural events, and the medical community did not accept it as a valid practice. A decade later, the first successful defibrillation was reported by an American surgeon, Dr. Claude S. Beck, in 1947. The patient was a 14-year-old boy who went into cardiac arrest during surgery, using a combination of direct cardiac massage, drugs, and a shock delivered by what appears to be tablespoons covered in gauze. The boy was successfully resuscitated. The following few decades, the 1950 to present day, the medical world spent time perfecting and improving the mobility, accessibility, and accountability of defibrillators. Because of this, more than 30,000 lives have been saved through the proper training of defibrillators, and we can find them in restaurants, malls, schools, and many other places.
A magnetic field is produced when electrical current flows in a conductor with magnetic field lines perpendicular to the current flow. Electromagnetic interference can occur as a result of conducted or radiated electromagnetic energy. A bar magnet should be taped directly over the device to temporarily deactivate the defibrillator function. When the patient is dying, the magnet should be left in place until the patient is deceased. After the patient has died, the magnet must be removed.
Oh my God, what's happening? Be serious.
Oh no!
Okay.
What do we do?
Well, we use a defibrillator at this stage. Okay.
Well,
There's certain steps we have to follow though. Step one.
Breathe. Breathe.
Calm down, keep yourself together.
okay, what do we do?
First, step one, confirm cardiac arrest.
We confirm it.
Confirm.
That looks fine. Okay. Okay, step two, try to wake the person up.
Wake up.
Dylan!
Wake up. Oh, he dead. Okay.
Gone.
Step three, call 911. Rosine, call 911. Step four, start CPR.
Okay, I got it.
I think there's a
First
dead
I was
guy.
afraid, I was petrified.
No! Stay
I
alive.
think the
Stay
cops-
alive.
I think I called the right number.
Make sure the patient is dry. Okay, turn on the AED. Go get the defibrillator.
Okay.
Prepare the chest area. So usually you'd want to remove any articles
I don't know, do we
articles of clothing. So
We will not be doing that today.
got it. Okay. I'm gonna place these right here and right here. So we're gonna analyze, and if it tells me to shock, we need to shock him. Okay, step 10, shock the victim if necessary. Everyone stand back. Clear.
Is he alive?
Clear.
You don't need to be a medical professional to use a defibrillator. A defibrillator will often come with audio and visual guides.
In order for defibrillation to be successful, it needs to be delivered within a few minutes of the victim going into ventricular fibrillation. But this period can be extended slightly if a bystander provides effective CPR without delay or hesitation. An AED uses sophisticated software and hardware to analyze the victim's heart rhythm and determine if a shock is required. The shock is only delivered by an AED machine if a sudden cardiac arrest event is detected, although it's important to back away from the victim if the AED is about to deliver a shock.
Most AEDs can be used multiple times and are good for hundreds of shocks, though it is important to replace the pads and batteries when necessary.
Contrary to popular belief, shocking someone with an AED will not cause a violent or physical reaction of the victim. Instead, the legs and arms of the victim will stay still and the shoulders will move slightly. Statistically for men, there's a 50% chance of sudden cardiac arrest by men by the age of 70. Statistically for women, by the age of 40, there's a 33% chance of suffering a heart attack. Some causes of cardiac arrest are poor heart health, drowning, electrical shock, choking, poisoning, and trauma.
Sadly, an AED will not save everyone who has undergone cardiac arrest. Many factors contribute to whether or not the victim lives, such as the underlying condition of the victim, whether the collapse was witnessed, and the heart rhythm.